Hello and welcome to Europa Universalis 4, and welcome to Beginning Anew. This will be an ongoing series where I analyze countries and discuss some tactics and strategies that you can use to become a world power and dominate the international stage. I'm always happy to receive more requests as to which country I should review next, but for now, let us begin anew. Today's nation, Denmark. So Denmark is a small nation to look at, but if you look at it diplomatically, well, the Kalmar Union is most definitely still alive. Now, Denmark proper has 102 development, 7 forts, a good variety of ideas, a kingdom-ranked government, Catholic, well, this can change quite rapidly, especially in the Reformation, Western tech, with a union over Sweden, Norway, and a vassal of name Holstein. We also start with a core on part of Holstein, but that's for another day. Now then, Denmark has a reasonably good king at the beginning. He can manage the land reasonably well, but looking at the ideas, we have yearly legitimacy and ship durability, which is always good for little navy battles. We have von Neskap, I don't know how to pronounce these things, but we get manpower recovery speed plus 10%. Old naval traditions, even more naval tradition. Good stuff. Found the Rentekammer. Treasury. We founded our treasury, and it gives us more taxes. Good stuff. Reorganize the Klædekammer? Cloth chamber, apparently. Anyhow, naval maintenance negative 10%. Good stuff. Found the Copenhagen dockyard, force limit plus 50%. Until now you can already see this Denmark is definitely a naval nation. Den Danskelov. I can't pronounce these things, but national unrest negative 1, always a beautiful thing to have. Religious freedom is atheism, and that gives a tolerance of a true faith plus 2, and church power plus 10%. This is of course a Protestant thing. And lastly we have Danish ambitions. We have light ship combat ability plus 15%. Get those barks up and running. No, not barks, what am I saying? Trade ships, of course. Anyhow, we'll move on to the history. History. Denmark's history is interesting to say the least. The Kalmar Union does not last very long. We can skip ahead in time. We'll see right away the Danish-Swedish War. And once this war ends, the Kalmar Union is no more. However, it did integrate Holstein, but Sweden is free. And let's continue. Denmark stays relatively stable. They do not expand into the HRE, at least not at this point. Muscovy is eating land on the west. Denmark has started taking land from Sweden. This does not last once again, but he did recreate the Kalmar Union. As I said though, this does not last, and soon enough he gives the land back to Sweden, which turns out to be a bit of a mistake. As once again we have a Swedish War for Independence, which they this time win, and take some land from Norway. Denmark itself is still very much stable. Now, as you can see, not so stable. However, Prussia has formed, and they're starting to increase relations with Denmark. They do have some rebels, as to which kind I cannot say. However, soon it will be that Denmark inherits Norway, and Sweden starts controlling more land. Protestant Reformation has begun. Most of Northern Europe is Protestant, as it historically happened, as we already know. We are going through the historical bookmarks. Denmark, though, stays very much stable. There is a war of Sweden once again, the Northern 7 Years' War, which, if I'm not mistaken, Sweden wins? I cannot actually quite say. If we go back in time, though, I can assure you we might find out. Let's see. 69. Nope, doesn't really say. However, time goes on. Holstein has been freed from Denmark. We have a relatively stable Northern Europe. Denmark has taken Utsil, and from then Sweden is starting to take out Estonia, Northern Livland. I don't know how to pronounce. I forgot what the nation was that's actually here. However, continuing. Denmark has lost Utsil to Sweden. They've also lost Scotland. Denmark is being pushed back. Once again, Sweden is expanding rapidly. That infantry combat ability is most helpful. Denmark is now more looking to its modern day equivalent. By the end of this campaign though, Sweden will have grown even more. They have lost Nerva though. Russia is expanding. And so the game ends with Norway being free and Denmark looking a lot like its modern counterpart with a bit more German land. However, that is the quick history of Denmark. Just to look at religion, Protestant did take over. Tactics. And welcome to in-game Denmark. We have our 4 forts. We have one in Midtjylland. We have one in this place, which is our capital fort. We have one in Skåne and one in Gotland. Beautiful. However, this fort in Gotland has been taken over by some Danish pretender rebels, which we'll have to crush as soon as possible. And I'm sure we will. We have 9 transports. If we put some troops into Småland, I don't know how to pronounce these things, and simply ferry them over, that should be no issue. However, we do have a few problems at home. Our subjects, Sweden especially, is very close to wanting independence. And another issue is that Norway, for example, cannot be integrated because we have less provinces. Norway has 15, we have 10. If we take over Holstein, we will be going to 12, which is still not enough. Perhaps some Livonian conquests would be helpful in this regard. Say this mission. But other than that, Sweden has the same issue. We will have to take a lot more land. However, integrating Norway will give you enough to integrate Sweden as well, if you don't just inherit it right away. As for how you're going to win wars, well, if you remember earlier, we had quite a bit of naval ideas, and you do have a lot of straits as well. So the greatest idea is, if you're losing, well, you've got ships, and now you have an impenetrable fortress. Your islands. Good stuff indeed. However, it's always good to recuperate your troops here and just slowly grow. Good idea for Denmark is definitely some trade ideas. To control Lübeck, and you will take control of the Baltic, and you will have a really good income source from there. Other than that, once you take the North Sea, you will also have an inflow from there. And if you decide to go for it, Norway does have claims on Scotland sometimes, if they decide to fabricate, which means you can attack Scotland, perhaps take some very important trade provinces like Lothlorien, and slowly grow your way into England as your ancestors did before. Speaking of that, that is an achievement later on which I will discuss. However, in terms of general ideas for expansion, Sweden sometimes gets claims on Novgorod. That would be a direction to go. Best way to encourage that is to make your attitude hostile, which will make your vassals' attitude towards them also hostile. Growth into the HRE will be limited, especially if the emperor decides to defend. However, provinces you might want to take are Hamburg and Lübeck, most definitely. Hamburg probably more likely since it has the double trade bonus. However, other provinces are especially East Frisia, since East Frisia, unbeknownst to many, is not actually in the empire, and additionally to that is a very low development, which means aggressive expansion will be pretty much non-existent. Other than that, it would be a good suggestion to go for trade ideas, perhaps even double down on some naval. However, that might be not too necessary. Religious ideas are always good, especially if you're going to go Protestant, and other ideas could perhaps go for exploration if you decide to do so. Of course, integrating Norway will put you right at that peak, and if you really want to do it, you can most definitely do so. But that was the tactics for Denmark right now, or should we call you Scandinavia already? Achievements. There's only one achievement that Denmark can do by itself, and that is called the Iron Prince. And what requires there is that you take certain provinces from England, Yorkshire, Lincolnshire, Norfolk, and I'm quite sure Lancashire, and then convert them to Danish culture. The idea there being that that would be the ancient kingdom of York? I think? No, not York. If I played my CK2 a bit longer, I would have seen it. However, there is a kingdom here that was Norse at one point, and then was driven out by the English. However, that is the achievement. You take these four provinces and convert them to Danish. That would give you one achievement. Other than that, there's not many other achievements Denmark is specifically good for. And that'll be it for this episode. Once again, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed. Make sure to put any suggestions or requests down below. I'm happy again to do any nation in the world, including perhaps some of the more annoying nations. If anyone knows where I'm pointing right now, they probably know what I mean. Anyhow, thanks again.